Okay, we're going to show an example here of end-to-end creating an application and registering it against a GS1 style barcode, whether it be a QR code or in fact any other type of barcode. So let's start first of all by creating a simple experience. We're going to, and this is really to test it, I'm going to call it nordlock, and it really isn't going to do an awful lot apart from report some properties. So actually I didn't even need to create an AR one, it doesn't really matter. We're just going to put one parameter here and we're going to call this sg10, and I'm going to drop this onto a label on the screen. So when the application starts, it's going to report the G10 ID that was encoding the barcode. And we're going to click publish, and then we'll move to the next stage. So let's click that. Next we're going to take a little look at a utility that will let us look at the contents of the server. I'm just going to run this utility called list, which will show you everything on my server. So let's just do list nordlock to find the name of it, and there it is there. So we can see our experience. It's called project nordlock, and there are various properties and values and so on that are created by Studio when it publishes that we don't need to know at the moment, but that's the important piece for now. So we know that the project is on the server. It's called nordlock. Okay, so now let's look at a script that I've created that will help us register this experience that we've created, and the script is called barcode my experience, and it takes some settings. I don't show mine here, but these are the parameters, the username, password, and the server to the experience server. It also has some settings that are going to be very specific to each individual sort of customer. So for example, the name of the redirection server, so this is the web server that would hold either this redirection or whatever we want the service to land on the landing page. It has what's called an indicator for GS1, which is the level of the product in the packaging. Typically level 1 is an item within its own sort of box, if you like. This is pretty irrelevant in what we're doing, but it's part of the standard. And the prefix, which is normally the company ID, this is a made up one. This is part PTC with a 9 in the front to put it in the UK for me, so it's not a valid code, but it'll do for testing. And then it calls Node.js and a script called EPC register, which will register the parameters, which you can see here are the experience name, nordlock in our case, the model number, which we'll choose a model number, for example, zip1 for the first model off the line, and optionally we take a serial number, which we'll show later, but in the first one we won't run a serial number. So let's look at that running. So we run barcode my experience, nordlock is the name of our experience, and we're going to give it product model 1, and we execute that, and you can see the information that comes back. We have the name of the experience, we've got the redirection URL, so this is the URL that the server must redirect to take it to the experience, which you can see is the experience we just published. We have some information about how this is mapped into the experience server. This is the mapping code, and here is the information to be written into a QR code. This is the string in this example, and in fact we have also generated a file already called nordlock001.ping. And let's take a look at that file. Let's just bring that in. So there is our barcode, which if we scan should return us this code here. You can see this code directs us to the web server that we had described with the encoded string, which will then map to this redirection here. So the way this works is that if this is read by view, this code here, this will take us directly, using this code here, to the experience. If it's read by the device camera, what you will in fact do is get directed to this website, which should then redirect us to this website. But they both end up back at the same service, and we can show this by looking at what the experience server knows about this code here. This is our experience code, and I'm going to use a function called resolve that I have, which will take that code, oops, put the wrong code in, excuse me, that code, resolve that code, and you can see it resolves us to the same experience. So if view reads it, it gets this code, it gets directed to the nordlock experience. If the web server reads it, it redirects to this code, which is the standard deep link code that redirects view to the service. So we'll show that next by recording two examples, one using the standard device camera on this barcode, the other one using view. So next let's take our redirection URL that we created, this guy here, and we'll just paste it into a browser and we'll see what happens. We're going to have to be fairly quick here, but if we do that, we can see it's already redirecting us to view. You can actually see here the command had taken us to view. Let's go back and do that again, and this time we'll just grab the entire URL, just copy that. We'll go back to here and we'll just paste it into here so we can see what it was. Here's what came back from the redirection server. It took us to the nordlock thing. There's some extra parameters on here because that's my server's doing something with what it receives, so I can debug this. If you want to see what that code is, here's the code that's running on the server. It's actually processing the request. It's basically looking for this kind of line that you remember from our code here, //01/ some number. So it's looking for these, it's decoding what that says, and it's building up the redirection thing. You can see here's the experience. In my case, it's actually hard coded to point to nordlock. This was obviously something that would be set up per page on a real server. I've hard coded it to point back to the one experience that we created, but you can see it's exactly the same command string that our tool generated, but with some extra debugging parameters on the end. And we execute that, and then it simply redirects the incoming browser to this direction, this location. And so what we get basically, again, we get taken directly to view, and I'll just do it again one more time. There we go. It redirects, and in this case it takes us to the store, and the store is basically trying to load view, which would be the behavior on a phone or on a tablet or on a PC when we redirect. So that's the process of the web server handling the redirection request. And as you saw before with the resolve command, you can see how view itself handles requests. So let's now look at the final step, which is running it on the devices. First of all, we're going to use the camera on the iPad to scan the barcode. So let's look at that. We launch the camera, point to the barcode, you see the pop-up on the top says open in Solaria. It asks us if we want to open it in view, and it opens in view. that would have installed Vue if we hadn't had Vue installed. So now let's do the opposite and run now with inside of Vue itself. So here we're in Vue, we scan the code. It tells us immediately that it's taking us to the same experience. End of demo.